Hi everyone, it is Eleni here with, of course, Rocky, and we are here to film our 1984 video response. Yeah, I know. Okay, so I'm just going to start with each question and I'll answer it and we'll go from there. Alright, so the first question is, what does the future presented in the narrative tell us about the anxieties of the time during which the text was written? So, 1984 itself was written after World War II. And as we know, World War II was a horrible, terrifying time. It was filled with loss, pain, and so much more. And the book itself was served as a warning to its readers, I believe, that this kind of future presented in the novel should never come to pass. And even the practices that contributed to the development of such a big brother world state were so present in Orwell's time that he's stating this time should never happen again, or this time, and this, if this time does, it should never progress to this. So the anxieties of the time were served as a warning, and I kind of like how Orwell takes what's around him and kind of writes about it. I mean, you know, with Animal Farm and everything else, it always has a background to it, always serves some sort of message, which is great about Orwell's writing. Alright, so next question. How accurate is the text's prediction of a dystopian future? So when concerning 1984 itself, I do think it is pretty accurate. I do believe the text itself is a little extreme in my opinion. But when concerning in the book wise, I'm going to start with the book and then I'm going to go on to how it can be possible for America itself. So the world that 1984 lives in is pretty scary, but I do think it is possible. I mean, like, once again, I think anything is possible. The world that Big Brother is living in is pretty accurate. I mean, once you think about it, you have someone that took control of these people and put in the notion of their heads that this is right and this is wrong and this is the life that we should live. And I think that is very much so accurate. I mean, I think it could happen to anyone. And I do think that it's happening in the world around us. Not exactly like the Big Brother world, but I do think it is very, very accurate. I mean, you look at it and you see people that are following under one giant rule, and you see people following what they believe is right because it's what they've known. And it's possible for it to happen here in America, but I do think it is already happening in other countries around the world. I mean, if you look at other places, and you don't exactly look at the style of their government, but you look at the way that people are treated and what kind of laws they have, then you see the similarities of a Big Brother world, and you see that it's not only accurate, but it's already happening. So I think a Big Brother world is very accurate, and the text itself is very on point, and it's not preaching something that can't happen, it's preaching something that can't happen. And once again, as we go back to question one, it's a warning. It's a warning of things that could happen if we're not careful. And this dystopian future can very much happen at any time. And I think it's a combination of people thinking what is right, and then also one person believing that this is the way things need to happen. And I think that's kind of where it forms. And, you know, we have one person believing what is right and taking action towards what they believe is right. And once again, then we have a start to a world that is not free. It is a 1984 world. It is one with the Big Brother kind of world. So the text itself is very accurate. I don't think it has any lies, but once again, I do think it is a little extreme, maybe because I don't believe it could happen here. I do think it is already happening around the world if you look closely enough. Yeah, so all right. The next one, so this is 2 parts. So, in what ways are we currently fulfilling the prophecy put forth by the text? So, 1984 itself is hugely surrounded by technology and surveillance. And I actually have a quote that I'm going to read in a minute. But we have technology and surveillance everywhere. And I grew up with a different viewpoint than most people in my class. And I can say technology and surveillance is a blessing. I have nothing to hide. I really don't care. With 1984 itself, it's used kind of as a different measure than we use it in present day. And I'm gonna read my quote first, and then I'll kind of go on that. So this is on page 117. In general, you could not assume that you were much safer in the country than in London. There were no telescreens, of course, but there was always the danger of concealed microphones, by which your voice might have picked up and recognized. Besides, it was not easy to make a journey by yourself without attracting attention. So, we have technology everywhere. We have surveillance cameras everywhere. We have microphones, wherever there's technology and surveillance. I do think that how it's used in 1984 is different than how we use it today. And once again, I think that it is kind of, what I'm trying to get at is in 1984, technology and surveillance is used as a way to watch the people and make sure there's no out of line kind of actions. But with the technology and surveillance that we have, I think it's used differently, and it's used to help protect the people. Some people may disagree with me there, but in my family, we see technology and surveillance nothing but a blessing. And I think we use it as a way to help keep the people safe, and a way to know what's going on. But with 1984, again, it's used to keep people in line. So we are somewhat fulfilling the prophecy of 1984 with technology and surveillance, but I don't believe it is in the exact same way. What I'm going to touch upon later is corruption, but one thing that surveillance and technology is being fulfilled by, if we have someone with not the right mind and viewpoint and goals for keeping the American people safe, that's when it kind of fulfills the 1984 prophecy, because we don't have someone that is aiming towards a healthier and safer place for the American people. So that's where I think it definitely fulfills 1984 prophecy, when we have someone good and with good intentions behind this powerful world of technology and surveillance, then it's not fulfilling. But if we don't have the right people, then it is fulfilling a 1984 prophecy. And yeah, once again, just in general, we have technology and surveillance everywhere, just like 1984 does. All right, part 2 of question 2. In what ways are we defying the text's nightmarish vision? So in my opinion, I don't think that we are living in a 1984 world, but once again, there are similarities to a 1984 world, but that's about it to me. I think we are defying it because of the rights that we have as people. And I think we are truly lucky as American people to be living where we are, because we've worked very hard for what we have, and the rights that we have as people, and especially as women, is truly amazing. And we have what we have through hard work and determination. And you don't see that through 1984. You see given titles, you see a given place where you're supposed to be living and how you're supposed to be living. And if you defy that, then you end up in a horrible, horrible future. But I think we ourselves are very lucky, and we're not living in that horrible place because of the things that we have and the things that are given to us and the opportunities that we have. If you look around the world, not a lot of places have what we have. Not a lot of places have the opportunities that we have. Not all these people have the protection that we have. And that itself is why we aren't living in a 1984 world. And I think that truly is a gift. And it's not something that should be treated like it's not. Because the life that we are living is truly amazing. And I think some people take that for granted sometimes. But it truly is quite amazing. And for that reason alone, I don't think we are living in a 1984 world. And, sorry, so we aren't, I believe we aren't, because of the freedoms that we have as people and the freedoms that we have in our world is quite amazing, in my opinion. Alright, so what elements of the text dystopian society may still pose a threat to us today? So I kind of touched on this before, but corruption, when we have someone that believes what they think is right, and then they go after that thought, and they have followers, and they gain that, and they have power in the government or any other place that they are, that's when it kind of poses a threat to the creation of a 1984 world, because if they have power and people, they can do pretty much anything. And now that's not to try and put down the good intentions people, but when someone is with bad intentions and a corrupt mind, that's when it kind of gets messy, and that's when a life like 1984 can become real. And that is why I think no matter how comfortable we are in the place that we call home, you should always be on the lookout. But that's not to say that you shouldn't not trust the place that you were living. I do think that this dystopian world that is in 1984 is once again possible. I do think it's extreme, once again, but it is possible, especially when there is someone with a corrupt mind that thinks what they have to say is right. And that's when a dystopian world can come into favor and take over the life that we are living and the things that we have and things that we have worked very hard for. So that is it for me and Rocky's video on 1984, and we are gonna sign out. So bye. Thank you. Have a good one.